Substrate doesn't have to be expensive. You can go to your local pet store and pay however many dollars per pound of whatever substrate you want. But the fact of the matter is, it's always going to be more expensive than alternatives that you can get at your local hardware store that are perfectly safe and fine to use. For instance, silicate-based pool filter sand. It will not alter the pH of your water. It will not alter the hardness of your water. It is considerably less expensive than the aquarium specific sand that you'll find at Petco or PetSmart and can be got at pretty much any do-it-yourself store like Home Depot or Menards for very cheap. The same can be said about certain types of all-purpose gravel if that's more what you're into. So long as the gravel does not have any sort of chemical treatments added to it, normally it's not that big of a problem to put it in your fish tank. Like the sand, all you really need to make sure you do is just wash it out thoroughly with some clean water before you put it in the tank to prevent a bunch of cloudiness, because that's really the main difference. Is the stuff for the aquariums, yeah, it comes in different colors and it can alter the pH in several different ways if that's what you're going for. But if you want something that affects the tank in no particular way, is pretty neutral, you just got to get this stuff. And yes, it costs considerably less, and you'll be putting some elbow grease into it by cleaning it out. But if you do, you'll save yourself quite a lot of money. Now, when I was talking about the pool filter sand, you probably heard me say silicate-based pool filter sand. And there's a specific reason for that. There are different types of pool filter sand out there. Silicate-based is the one that's not going to swing parameters. Now, you might be tempted to look at all-purpose sand or play sand as an option. This is generally not recommended because they do alter the tank in various ways, and they're not very easy to work with. An alternative to pool filter sand, if you must get something with a color, is blasting sand. Now, I personally have not used blasting sand in my tanks, but I heard you can get it in the color black. And if you need some sort of contrast, that might be an option to look into, although I cannot personally confirm that. I can, however, say the pool filter sand does seem to work quite well. Now, unlike all-purpose sand, which is kind of a dubious thing to use in your tank for various reasons, all-purpose gravel is usually okay so long as it does not contain any added chemicals. If it does contain chemicals, it should be listed somewhere or be able to be verified in some particular way. But the reason why you can use all-purpose gravel is because it's just a bunch of tiny rocks. The only real difference is it doesn't come pre-washed. So yes, you're going to have to clean it a lot. But if you put your back into it and give it a little bit of elbow grease, you'll find that for the price, this 50-pound bag of gravel, for instance, was only like $5, maybe $6. That's considerably less expensive than the aquarium-specific counterparts that you'll find at pet stores or even Walmart, really. And the good news is the cost savings don't even end with this. If you want a giant piece of pumice, for instance, or something like it, kind of like lava rock, you can use lava rock that you get at Home Depot or Menards as well. So long as it's not chemically treated, you're just washing it out. And to show you what I mean, I have my cake tank, as I call it. I was just showing it to you before. We got lava rock on the bottom, all-purpose gravel in the middle, and pool filter sand on top. They might be wondering, why is that? Well, lava rock is very porous, much like pumice, and that houses bacteria quite well. The gravel right here is a great spot for plants to anchor their roots down, and the sand on here is nice and fine, so that any sort of snails or fish that are sensitive to the ground that they are laying on don't get irritated. So the cake tank might seem a bit convoluted in the sense that I am using 3 different types of substrate, but it is a demonstration in function over form that it can be done on the cheap. And quite frankly, I kind of like the look of that particular tank. It's got a certain aesthetic about it that pleases me, but if you're the type of person that absolutely must have something like pink gravel, for instance, then yes, you're probably going to be limited to buying it at a pet store. You're not going to find that sort of thing at Home Depot. But if you need a lot of something on the cheap, you'll find that in the aquarium hobby industry, there are many people out there that have been asking these questions long before you or I ever have, and have done the research and have collected the data. There are definitely people who have tried pretty much everything with varying degrees of success, but if you're not sure, all you gotta do is go on a website, whether it be a forum or maybe Reddit or something, snap a picture of the particular thing you want to put in your fish tank, and ask some questions about it. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. It's easier to ask a question than to make a mistake. That's what I did. I asked questions before I bought something, and I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, but as I went down the rabbit hole, I made my way down the various paths of information, and I found that specific things like this particular pool filter sand was something that a lot of other aquarists use, the specific brand and model pool filter sand. So I was pretty confident in my choice in getting it. And they confirmed on their end, it's been long well known that it works, and I can confirm on my end that, hey, it seems to be doing pretty good. And that's pretty much how it is with anything, really. It doesn't have to come specifically from an aquarium store if you're willing to do a little bit of research prior to it and a little bit of hard work to clean it out first. So that's the moral of the story, folks. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get into this hobby. It can be very cheap if done right. And knowledge is power.